All right, guys. Dreadnought's back today with another review, and we're going to be taking a look at the DC Collectibles, DC Comics, Icons, Dark Days Green Lantern. As you can see here, very reminiscent of what we've already seen with these Icons figures. Nice Green Lantern icon and the Icons logo there. Nice big window displaying all the parts here, and it comes with several things as you can see there. It says Green Lantern, Hal Jordan over here on the side. Then on this side, we've got number 9. It says Icons, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, Dark Days. Looking very cool overall in the packaging. And then a look at the back, you can see some other figures from the wave here. Looking very nice. So let's crack this bad boy open and get a look at it. And here's Green Lantern out of the packaging. Looking pretty cool overall, I gotta say. Definitely liking the look of this figure. There were some shortcomings and some issues with the figure, and I'll get to those here in a moment. But this was very close to one of my favorite Green Lantern figures, if not for the few things that we had problems with. All right, as we get a closer look at accessories, this guy comes with a ton of armor pieces, and we'll look at all those here in a moment. But to me, some of the coolest accessories that came in the box were not armor related. First off, with this energy fist that he comes with, and I just really dig this. I wish all Green Lantern figures came with something like this. Definitely has that energy look to it. It's made out of a transparent plastic. You can see all the ripples and edges of the energy coming off there. And I like the plastic they used, the color green. It looks really good. And under light, it actually looks like it's kind of glowing. So that's just a really cool piece that I really like. And it's not related to the armor itself. Also, the lantern, it is kind of cheap on the handle. As you can see here, the handle just comes off. And I don't like that. And it's real flimsy up here. But I do like the look of it. Does have the Green Lantern symbol there on the top and on the bottom. Looks really cool. But the other thing I like about it is, and you see that handle coming off again, is the fact that when you hold it up to the light, you can see the light through it. It has like a green, clear, transparent plastic in the middle. And that just looks cool. It looks like I'm turning it on almost. Really good. Light just really flows through it really well when it's pointed towards it. So I like that piece. Not a huge amount of detail, but I like the color and I like the light up feature on it. Then he also comes with a couple sets of hands. Comes with the fisted hands back here that you can see. And these are fine. You know, not a lot going on with them. You can see the ring is sculpted on there. And then this is in comparison to a more open hand here, and it has the ring sculpted on. These don't have a ton of detail in them, you know, at all. But it's cool that it does come with another set here. So I like that. And then here's the other open hand as well. And these seem to peg in better because there's no paint on the pegs. If you guys follow me on Twitter or whatever, you've probably seen that I posted a picture of the Lex that I got recently from this series, and his hand snapped off as soon as you put the peg in. But you can see here the paint around the top of the pegs is just chipping all off. You know, looks really bad up in there. The fact that he's all white, you're not going to notice it too much, so it's okay, I guess. On this thing, you see some paint chipping off there. But they actually left the paint off these pegs, so you don't have to worry about them getting stuck in the figure and breaking off. So that was good. So let's get on to the armor here. And I don't really know where to start, except for what I will say is you probably should use these instructions when putting the armor on, because it's kind of a pain in the ass. And before I get too much into this armor, the one thing I do want to say is I really hate that DC even put this armor with it. It's a cool idea and a cool concept, but there's some issues with the figure itself, with the armor, and I'll show you those in a minute, that I just think should have been addressed before we got this big $30 or $35. I don't know how much this thing is normally priced, but you know, before we got that big deluxe package, I think they should get everything right with the figures before trying to expand too much. So that's a little bit of my problem with the armor. And then the other thing is the armor doesn't go on the figure very smoothly, and in my opinion it actually damages your figure. So but let's get to it. I've already done it and put it on, so there's nothing more that I can really damage, I guess, at this point. So let's look at it. First off is this headpiece, and you can see here that it has a different shade of green transparent plastic in the middle than on the sides. And it's just a little bit different shade. It has the Green Lantern logo sculpted in. Some nice sculpting on it, but I wish they would have stayed with the same color. I'm not sure if we look at all the armor, this one piece almost stands out from all the rest of the green. Either go with this or go with that. I'm not sure why they did both. But this one is, probably the easiest piece to put on. It just clips underneath him like so, and then the head piece goes down over him like that. So, no big deal there. And I'm going to take this off to put the other pieces on. He comes with shoulder pads, and I really, really don't like these. They do slide on easy enough, like so. But my big issue with them is they cause paint rub, and you can see here on the shoulder that it did that when I first put it on. So I have a problem with that. And then my next major problem is with the cannons. These are very nicely sculpted. I love this clear plastic, really looks good under these lights. But this is a hugely heavy piece. And then the other one is even heavier. Looks cool, and it's even got a feature on it where you can open it up. And you can see some little projectiles in there, some rockets or whatever, and close it up. That looks really, really cool. But the way they have these go on is you unplug the arm, and there's a hole in here. Sorry, let me get it in front of the camera. And this plugs on like so. Now it works pretty well, but it does weight the arm down quite a bit, and I can see it wearing these joints out in here because they aren't the best joints in the world anyway. But let's go ahead and put the other one on as well, so you can see these guys intact. And they snap on fairly easy. Of course, there's the shoulder armor coming off again. We'll put that back on. Alright, so there's the arms, as you can see there. And then it comes with leg armor. And I'm going to do these upper legs first. And you can see there's two pieces, and they clamp together like so. But you put them over the leg. And this is where I really have a problem. This really scuffed my figure when I put it on. And it really did a number on the paint on the leg on the figure. So I'm really, really bummed out about that. But it plugs on pretty easily, just like so. And, it fits okay. It's somewhat loose, but it's not real loose. And then it has another one. And we'll find it. And it's the same deal. You can see there. So we'll plug this one on as well. And get it lined up here. And this one is extremely tight for some reason on the left leg. So this one's a lot tighter. This one moves, this one does not. So, I'm not sure why. But then we have the boots. Really cool concept here. You do kind of have to play with getting the feet into the boot. And but once you get it plugged in, it's fine. And then there's a piece that goes on the back, just like with the others, that plugs on the back and holds it in place like so. And put this boot on, and the piece behind it. Now I did get a little paint rub on the feet on these, but it wasn't, it wasn't horrible. The major paint rub came on the leg pieces up here. And then we have the wings, and the two wings have to snap on. Be very cautious with putting these wings on because they will break. I've seen it in several people's pictures that they posted, so that is a common problem there. So, all right, so we'll put this back on like I showed you earlier, and put his little crotch piece up like so. And there he is, fully armored up. And, it looks okay, It's definitely Green Lantern-ish, but, it doesn't fit tightly. And, it messes your figure up. So, it kind of just really bums me out. I'll try to move the camera where you can get a better look. The things I would say that look really nice about this is the fact that the plastic they used almost glows under the right light. Looks really, really nice. Definitely like the way these wings look here. Sorry. They look really nice. I mean, the transparency of the plastic they used just looks really good. I'm not sure why they used a darker green here in this middle piece, and then you can see some of that in these big cannons as well. But at the tips of the guns, they almost glow because of how thin they are. Or not thin, but how transparent they are. And under this light looks really good. And I like the whole concept of it. It's just, it scuffs your figure here on the shoulders. It scuffs these. And then the real problem, let me take this off and I'll show you. The real issue comes after you remove this with what it's done to your arms on the figure, because I don't plan on having the figure displayed with armor on him. Quite frankly, I could have done without it. That's just flying off everywhere. And be cautious getting these pieces off because they are super tight. Like I said, I'm just kind of throwing it to the wind now because I've already scratched and scuffed my figure up from putting it on the first few times, and you can see those scuff marks there. But this is, I could even get over the scuff marks if it wasn't for this. Because of those pieces, they really loosen up your joints for your arms, so this thing is super loose. I mean, it sucks. You know, it wears the pegs out. This one's a little bit better on this side, and that seems to hold better. But this right side, I'll show you. Let me change this hand out here. I had this one displayed in the first shot with the lantern being held. And when you plug that in like so, and put your lantern, you know, in his hand, what happens is over time, and I had this one up for just a few hours, but over time it starts to pull on this hand, and actually I came back and the lamp had fell, and it really bums me out that it becomes so loose here that this doesn't hold anymore. That really sucks. So the armor really just kind of ruined that joint on that arm. So I hate that it did that, plus the scuffs to the shoulders and the legs. All just really bummed me out about all these accessories. In my mind though, I really do love the lantern. I think that was a great piece, and I hope they include it in a future Green Lantern figure we may get. And I definitely love the arm piece. These two accessories, if they just gave us this figure with these two accessories, I would have been completely happy. All right, and as we get a closer look here at the sculpting on Green Lantern, looks pretty cool overall, I gotta say. There are a few issues I have with it, but just looking at the head sculpt, looks pretty clean. Nice mask on there. The face looks a little slim to me, just in my opinion. And then looking at it on the neck, it does have kind of an odd shape to it, and you'll probably be able to notice it more in person, but it's almost kind of cartoonish that his neck doesn't match his head quite right. From the front you can't really notice it that much, but from the side definitely, in some angles it looks, a little bizarre. I think they did a good job on the sculpt on the head though. Overall, I like the paint. There's a little shadowing in the hair. That all looks good back there. Looks nice and clean. Not a lot of detail in it. The lips look okay. There's a little bit of paint in the lips to offset the color. And the eyes have a little bit of black around them with the white in the middle, which is really nice touch, especially in such small scale, to get that right where it looks pretty good. I like the color on the mask. And then through the chest, the logo is definitely sculpted in. Looks really, really good. Has that kind of sparkly green paint to it, which looks, looks nice on here. I think it's the right balance. It's not too shiny, but it has that right tone of green for Green Lantern, which I think really came out well. I like all the sculpted muscle definition in here. And, I'm not a big fan of how they sculpted the pads up here on the shoulders, but they look okay, and they look, fair enough. The paint does get a little lacking up here at the top, if you look up in there. And then, like I said, I've got some scuffage from putting those shoulder pads on, which that kind of bums me out. The black on here is like a matte, but it almost looks as if plastic will look when you get it near super glue, which I'm not sure why. I guess it's the armor that did that, but you can see this is shiny, and then down here it gets to a flat, very flat black, and it looks really bad through the legs, and I just really hate that. It goes from shiny to almost like you ran it through the dirt, all scuffed looking. And I don't think it's the actual armor itself that did it, but it's almost like the paint on the armor or the plastic on the armor gave it like that rough texture. The only way I can explain it is like with super glue. If any of you guys do customs or something, you'll know what I'm talking about. When you put super glue in a box with a figure, he gets that grayish white tone over him, and that's what this feels like. It's got that that arm, man, I tell you. Anyway, moving on. It has that texture. So the legs feel almost completely ruined to me. I think the original color of the figure was before, you know, I messed with it. It looked good. It was kind of a shiny black, you know, but it wasn't completely just sticking out or overly shiny. The sculpt and the muscles and everything look fine. Green Lantern butt looks fine. The boots get a little bit wonky to me. Maybe, you know, looking at it from the front there, maybe you can tell it just doesn't have the right shape in my mind. You know, it doesn't, I mean, it looks kind of cartoonish, I guess. From the side, they look fine. There's a little sculpting there at the bottom. It does have some peg holes. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of how the boots turned out. They're not great. And as we look at articulation here, the head will only move up a small amount, just barely. Moves down just that much. It does rotate all the way around. Arms move up about that far. And they do rotate all the way around, like so. The arms are a little tricky. Do have double jointed elbows, but of course this comes loose every time. I guess you could call that articulation. I call it crap. But anyway, hinge on the hands, down and up, like so. And by the way, just while I've been shooting this one's actually, well, there you go. I was going to say this one's starting to come loose quite often as well. You know, that just really sucks and bums me out. The abs crunch forward about that much and back that far. It does have that crunch in both. If you're just using the ab crunch itself, you can see that's about the movement, and then you get the extended movement down here at the lower abdomen. So a little bit of pivot there, but not much. And it does rotate around like so, and that's really tight. That's almost scary tight. The legs have the new joints they're using. Get a lot of movement out to the side there. You will kick forward only about that much, and it kind of veers off once you start kicking forward. So not great there. And you can't really move it back at all either. Double jointed knees, and they're really good on Green Lantern. I will say that. Has great double jointed knees on here. It does rotate here at the calf, like so. Has a hinge on the foot. Moves down like that much. And you can see they didn't paint the joint all the way through. That's kind of a bummer. Moves up that much and does have ankle rocker, that weird rocker. Doesn't rotate around. All right, and up next is our Green Lantern compared to a couple other Green Lanterns. We've got our DC Collectibles 7-inch scale over here from the new 52 on the right, and our DCUC Classics Green Lantern here on the left. This guy's measuring in at a little under 6 inches tall, so you can see scales below both these guys. And here's Green Lantern compared to the other two icon figures I have so far. Lex Luthor here on the left. This is a replacement after the first one I got broke. And our Last Rites Batman here on the right. And I think he scales pretty well with these guys overall. All right, so closing out here, overall, I got to say I'm hugely disappointed with this Green Lantern figure. I think it's sculpted fairly well for what it is. We do lose some sculpting in the smaller scale compared to like a Marvel Legends figure because it's not quite as large as that. So when you look at the hands and stuff, it doesn't give them a lot of room to give it a lot of sculpting and stuff. So it does lack there. But my big issue is with the you know, extra $10 worth of armor that actually destroys your figure. You know, that to me is a problem. You know, I hate what happened with these arm joints up here. It's a real bummer. You know, it just really bums me out on what could be, you know, an awesome figure. So, you know, if they could get the paint right on this figure, where you didn't have issues with it, not include the armor, you know, I think the figure would be fine. I actually am thinking about buying another one and just not doing anything with him other than the two accessories I mentioned before, this one and the lantern here, and maybe having a decent Green Lantern figure. But the thing that keeps me from doing so is I think we'll probably get 4 or 5 different versions of Green Lantern before this line is done, so we may actually get a better version. I just hate that they didn't spend more time focusing on making a great Green Lantern figure here. They definitely had the base for it with the color choices they used and with the sculpting. They could have included a couple of accessories and really gotten these joints the way they needed to be and made sure that the paint applications were tight on it, and it would have said a lot more for this new line for them than having a figure in this huge deluxe set that kind of missed the mark, you know, especially with the line being so new. I think right now DC is at the point where a lot of people are like me. You know, they want to get on board, they want to get excited. But when you have things like this, and then like I said, the second figure I purchased was the Lex Luthor. His hand snapped off. You know, after I sang the praises in my Batman review just earlier, a week or so ago. So, you know, it really bums me out that we're starting down the same path that we saw, you know, with DC Collectibles 7-inch figures. So hopefully, you know, they'll get these things fixed really quickly so we don't incur more of this kind of problem. But, you know, overall, you know, I can't rate the figure a buy, not at the price point it is and not with the armor. I think you're better off to wait till we get a better Green Lantern figure individually packed, or if you're going to, you just have to have a Green Lantern figure in this scale, then I would recommend not using the armor and just leaving it off the figure, in my opinion. But anyway, there's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If so, please give me a big thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Plenty more content coming down the road. Facebook, Twitter, Toy Art links in the description below as always. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you soon.